Hello everyone, welcome back to Empowered Family, Xingguang Jiayuan. In this episode 5, we're going to talk about the science of seeing versus the heart of learning. For 16 years, a bright young girl named Janet could not read a single word. She knew her ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, but the bridge between them was missing. Experts told her mother, don't expect change, but they were looking at the wrong map. Today, we are going to talk about why some children aren't feeling the system. The system is feeling their biology. Joining me today is someone who lived this story from the inside. Joyce Moi is a parent coach and a former ASEAN Master Licensee of Starjump, an Australian structured literacy program. While the company is no longer in operation, Joyce continues to apply these learning principles to support families. But more importantly, she is the mother who refused to accept no for an answer. Joyce, welcome.
Thank you.
Before Joyce shares Janet's journey, we have to understand the why. Most people confuse sight with vision processing. Sight is just the camera lens. It's the physical eye. But vision processing is the brain's software. It's how the occipital lobe and the parietal lobe interpret what the eye sees. For many neurodivergent children, the camera is working perfectly, but the internal processor is scrambling the data. Joyce, take us back. What does this scrambled data look like for Janet during those first 16 years?
Thank you for having me today again, Felicia. So you raised a very important question, and since this video podcast has been made to support parents, I will actually be looking at our viewers to answer your question.
Okay.
Now, the thing about vision and sight is if a child has been born with a vision problem, it is something they cannot tell you. When we have a sight issue, it's like today I see things very clearly and tomorrow things are blur. I can tell you. And say I'm not seeing things clearly. Or you may even be able to say like, you told me something which is at a distance and I can't find it. So you will take me to the optician, okay, or the ophthalmologist to check my vision, and then you will know whether I'm sighted or not sighted. For a child who has got vision processing issue, they themselves do not know it. It's like you mentioned, it's a camera. So when you hold a camera, okay, you may be holding them in the same way. But to me as a child, if I have a vision problem and I hold a camera, I might feel that the camera needs to be higher up or the camera needs to be lower. But the effect of the picture that is taken is totally different from another person who has no vision problem because they are seeing things the way they should. So we really didn't know that Janet had a vision problem. Okay? It was something that we discovered when she was 16.
Okay.
Before that, we always wondered like, why is she writing without spaces? And you would teach her, as most schools say, put a finger when you finish writing, put a finger and then you get your spacing. But the minute you take away the finger, the words all come back in. Or sometimes when you're getting her to write on blank piece of paper, you get her seeing that she's writing uphill or downhill. Okay? So those were actually the way she sees and processes information, not trying to be mischievous or not that she doesn't understand. To her, it's perfectly straight. But to us, it's in the wrong line.
Joyce, thank you for sharing. Okay, now I remember that in the last episode you mentioned that about how you found this program called Starjump when you went to Australia to attend your elder daughter's graduation. Okay, what kind of breakthrough did you find after joining the Starjump program?
Okay, so everyone had been telling me that Janet's learning difficulty was probably not going to be solved because we have tried different methods. From phonics, we have even tried, to do blending and anything else. It didn't work. So I was actually searching through the web, hoping to find some learning resources for her. And it was this company called Starjump appeared, but it was in Australia. And obviously, it was a little bit impractical to try to talk to an Australian when you're in Malaysia. So I made it a point to give her a call when I went for my elder girl's graduation. Now, what actually happened when I met this lady is she said to understand why the child is not learning, we need to understand the root cause of the problem. And through the simple assessment that she did with us, within that same hour, she told me that the first challenge that Janet had was she had a vision problem. I even argued with her then that no, she doesn't have a sight problem or she doesn't have a vision problem because we've taken her to the optician, she has been checked and she has perfect eyesight. And she told me, no. Vision processing and eyesight are two different matters. So what she's having before you can do anything else is you need the eyes to see and the information to be processed correctly before you can move on to stage 2.
Yeah, I think this is very common that we heard from parents. Okay, there's no issue with my children's sight. Okay, because they went for examination, but they didn't realize that they do have issue with the visual processing. Okay, can you tell us more about this Starjump program? I believe that a lot of parents would like to know more about it.
Yes, and I have today to say that it was a life-changing moment for Janet. Starjump is an Australian program. The founder of Starjump was actually a teacher. The difference with her is she had a passion to address issues with children who are bright. So she just found it very amazing that you can have a very bright, smart kids coming up to you and having a conversation with you, even a complex one. But the minute they go back to studies, they can't learn. So she was trying to find the underlying reason for this, and that's when she had her whole research. In her research, she found a couple of things. The first most important thing she discovered was every one of us is wired differently.
Yes.
And issues can be at any one point. It's not just restricted and limited to one. So vision processing is not her area of expertise. In fact, her focus is just purely on literacy, teaching children who can't read and write how to read and write. But her assessment on Janet flagged that before Janet could learn to read and write, her software in the brain had to operate properly first.
Yes, I agree.
She could see, but she wasn't interpreting the information that she saw the correct way. So trying to put her down and teach her how to read and write wouldn't work. And that's where she told me, and later on, that's also where my other practices came in, is that there is no one solution that can be the answer to all learning issues.
Yes.
Some might benefit just from her literacy program, and some might need many other interventions to come in and support them. So the first thing her literacy program basically does is to work on a simple method to kind of have that door open. So when information is required, they know how to go and get it and they know where to get it.
Okay, great. Thanks for your sharing. Okay, Joyce, it is interesting what you share regarding Janet's experience working with her on her visual processing. Okay, so when you start to use a different kind of teaching style, and she started to learn. Okay, and that is the power of neuroplasticity. Okay, by shifting the teaching style to match Janet's visual-spatial brain, Joyce was able to bypass the glitch in her processing. This is why we say the system fails the child. If we only teach one way, we only teach one kind of brain. If your child is struggling despite being smart, they may simply be wired differently, right? It isn't a lack of ability, it's just a difference in processing. Janet's story is proof that with the right approach, it is the impossible becomes possible. Okay, what do you think about this statement?
I would say you hit it right. Okay. As parents to our child, we have to first believe in our child
Yes,
and never give up.
definitely.
Especially if we have a child whom we know once or even now love learning. Okay. The reason why I said used to is if the child keeps failing, you keep sending them to tuition, they can't learn. You keep giving them extra homework, they can't learn.
Yes.
After a while, a smart child will feel that they really have a problem and they become demotivated. So a child who was willing to learn may now suddenly stop and refuse to learn anymore because they just think that nothing will work. So if they ever had that spark in them, which Janet had, like the dream that they can learn, but they are not learning, don't give up hope. I would say we have a very useful tool available, which will help you understand if the child's literacy is hindered because their learning approach is different. See, if we look at it today, I'm not saying it's wrong, but when a child diagnosed with dyslexia is not learning, there is still a tendency of using the conventional method to help the child learn. But whether they are autistic, they are dyslexia, they are ADHD, or whatever of the diagnosis, it is very common for these children to have very strong visual learning ability. So while we work on helping them to learn the way school teaches, which is left brain based, let's also spend time to help them to open up the right brain and utilize that strength they have in their learning. Giving after this, you will see a testimonial from a very bright young boy who had difficulty learning, and yet he could actually tell you the latest things happening around the world because he reads the papers. Okay? So you will wonder why a child who reads the papers can't actually learn and do the work in school. It was just because he captured information very differently. He processed it very differently. When we used the Starjump program and showed him how he could use this right brain visual spatial learning skill that he had to remember things, he was so happy. Suddenly, he was able to follow back his school curriculum, and the testimonial that you will see afterwards is a testimonial not just from his mum about how the Starjump program had helped him, but also his own message to me about him overcoming his challenges. I have also this other parent who came to me and said that he needed help. They needed help because the child was diagnosed with global developmental delay, GDD, which meant that the child would struggle in all areas. Just using the visual spatial method alone, we address his learning. And guess what? Today, this particular young man is studying in Taiwan, and he's even got the highest scholarship offered by the Taiwan government.
Wow, that's great.
Exactly. And I'm so
Yeah.
happy we met up during Chinese New Year because he requested his mom, to meet up with me. And he's a handsome, good-looking young man, bright boy. And when you read it, I'm always so proud when I show what he sent to me on WhatsApp messages. And I asked whoever read it is, do you think this boy ever has a problem? And the answer is no, perfectly fine. Yeah. So never give up. Okay? Just try. It might be just that you haven't tried the right method.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we just need to look at what is the cost. Okay, don't be confused by the label.
I think the other issue we have sometimes also is a label confines us to explore things. And the causes, we always think that what we see is the cause or the root of the problem. In reality, what we see is just in response to a problem that is hidden behind.
Yeah.
So the root of the problem has got to be identified. When a child can't sit still, that is a behavior. But what is causing the child to not sit still, that is the root.
Yes.
And we have to go down to the root.
Yeah, this is what the purpose of we doing this few episodes. We just want to emphasize that not to just focus on their behavior. Go further and try to look for the root of the problems.
Yes. So we want to help you to identify if you have a struggling child whom you feel is perfectly fine, but just not interested in studies. Do send us a message below and request for a copy of the Visual-Spatial checklist, which is being flagged at the end of this slide. Just to have an idea, like, is it just the way the brain is learning? And if that is, maybe there's an easier way for you to help the kid learn. We will be surprised with what we find. It may be the real cause of the previous problem, it might not. So like in Janet's case, even though she was a visual-spatial learner, we were strongly suggested to fix her vision problem before we do the learning, because if she can't make up what her brain is seeing and put them in proper spaces, even though you know that they are right brain or visual-spatial learners, whatever method you use won't work. And that's really the reason why we tried so many things and she was still not able to learn until she was 16 years old. So we are really very, very grateful to Starjump, and the owner had to stop her research and passion in this project because she contracted brain cancer. She had a tumor, she operated, and she decided that she should take an easy path in life. But she had given us permission that for us who have been trained by her, which is just two of us, one is a psychologist over in Sydney and myself, that we are free to use her teachings to help others who are in need of it.
Yeah, so if we have a chance in the following episode, we're going to ask Joyce to share more about this Starjump so parents will know more about it and maybe it can help you. Joyce, thank you for joining me today. And for the next episode, we're going to talk about how this visual processing has been affecting a lot of the pandemic babies. Okay, and parents still wondering why is that my child or my children could learn in school. Okay, but yet they appear to be very smart. Okay, we hope to discuss more about this in our next episode. Thank you, Joyce.
Welcome, and look forward to seeing you wonderful parents again in the next episode.